Welcome to late IHP Show, to our future humans. We have a bit of stories from this 5D mystic on being yourself, and definitely how it gives you the most amazing of powerful manifestation techniques. I didn't really realize what going with the flow meant until I learned all about it with neuroscience, but also until I was like, wow, so I've been going with the flow for a while. As a 5D mystic, I did know I was an empowered feminine, and with lovely Christ consciousness, the forgiveness from Jesus to the angels to God and Holy Spirit, Resh. So, as you all know, we do love to bring it all in. I do, and all the future people, future humans. So we were talking about self-empowered people. They generally want authenticity because they're authentic. And while others say they want authenticity, what they want are pats on the back, people to take their side. They have trauma charges that they don't want to process. And so why being yourself gives you this powerful manifestation technique, it's because you are not one storing trauma charges, but instead you have healthy anger, healthy sadness, healthy fear. So your body is in connection, and that's why we're free of shame and free of fear. But the unhealthy, we all will still have fear. So we are people, and if that wasn't clear, which is where again that's what Jesus was, people, person. And I do know that there's a lot of different ways people like to talk about avatars and whatnot. I try not to listen. I'm woo pseudoscience because I know what sciences are, and so I like to remember who my data people are and then go to them to verify whenever somebody's trying to make up stuff. I'm like, okay, I need clarity. So the good intellectuals and the good scientists, expert yogis, expert prophets, expert gurus. When I say expert, it means that they care about what they do. So they use two sides of the brain, and they know that stories are for a certain time, that teachings also sometimes can become old news, and so do words. So nobody is self-righteous or contemptuously holding on to like 10, 20, 30 books. And when they do decide that they want to continue to share with us their thoughts, we will get to make fun of them like they will get to not make fun of us. Today I was listening to a guy as he was pointing out to what is today called toxic masculinity. I don't prefer to use those words just because people that like to take sides, they like to use words like that. I like to use different words. Neutrality is very important, calm, and equanimous, discerning. So this is how we process charges, is because we can sit with the open-ended inquiry, have no objective, no goal. Shh, be quiet. Shh, be quiet. It's okay. And it forces us to develop strength, curiosity, and courage. So as you work with the word unfair and unjust, and you understand that we all have a 3-year-old somewhere, and sometimes you won't feel like you'll be scared to speak. Okay, so those are the ways our body has the flight, fight, freeze, flop, drop, and they're all actively part of our repertoire. I know my first 2 years of life probably decided, if I remember correctly, I have some notes and I keep losing them, but your first 3 years for sure decide how you're going to defend yourself, and sometimes you're going to freeze. And at the end of the day, the flow state, though, is fun for those of us who enter it, because with selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness is where our body's like, where are you? Where are you, Maria? Where's time? Ah! But once you move to richness, and that's how you continuously know you're expanding from your Kundalini awakenings, from ascension energies right here. Okay, so being yourself, it's really fun. And what I love about authentic people is they're themselves too. And so they're not going to stay adopted child part people. They know how to forgive. They know how to continue building relationships. And they are stronger than any of their dysfunctional patterns. And they're also aware, like I am, that a fool with a tool is still a fool. So anybody who is not able to know how health is richness. Okay, so health is part of your smarts. And when you meet grown-ups, as I'm 45, who don't understand it, and they continue to use what I'm going to define as Pinocchio's island, I get it. Nobody has to get off the island, but I'm off the island. So here I am, na like a hurricane. I'm here to leave a legacy for the younger generation, particularly who still have shitty examples in movies and songs, you name it. But it's not their fault. They're ignorance on attachment trauma education, and they're also ignorance on the true way to forgive. As Dr. Daniel Siegel points out, it's not because you're allowing yourself to think somebody gets away with something. It is because you're capable of processing that which is sadness the healthy way. That's with compassion. While self-righteous people need Patrick Tian because they're still angry in a way of not being self-aware, and then they carry the self-righteous contemptuous baton and they do unto others that which was done unto them. This is why when someone doesn't believe in the channeling, the downloading, our communion, at least for me, communion with God, again, that's my foundation, Jesus, Holy Spirit. And then when I became a mystic, I began to download, channel. I know my oversoul, and I know also the lovely luminous warriors that I come with. So it's really fun. One of the first downloads that I got, or I don't remember the order anymore, but it was actually us surrounding the earth. I saw a picture of it somewhere, so but that's a side note. I wanted to focus for this episode on how when you are aware of your oversoul and when you're aware of your own relationship with use whatever word you want, you don't have any questions, so you know what's being presented to you. And then when you find out about how we all closed out our karma, by the way, from past lives, is really great. So even though some people, they are not adapting to the Dharma frequency, that's something not good or bad. It was something that I knew about in the timeline of what our ascension energies bring about. So your life is your making. God does not interfere with it. Thank you, Sadhguru. And as a Reiki master and Akashic record reader and a personal and spiritual growth mentor, content creator, podcast host, I can tell you what I've witnessed all the time of reascension energy. And it is always where you get the conscious choice to process the charges. Okay, so healthy anger, healthy sadness, healthy fear, healthy disgust, healthy surprise, healthy happiness means that you're capable to be self-aware in those moments as you deal with unknowns, uncertainties, and wanteds, unexpecteds from within while going with the flow. That is your most powerful manifestation technique, and that's because you get to be yourself authentically. And so by being genuine, you don't harbor resentment. Now, when someone says you won't be able to manifest with trauma, that's not true. That's the person and many others who want to give you these yes and no's. There's not a one size fits all because we don't determine your future or your present, meaning that the person who is owning that body gets the choice. Now, science says some will say you have no free will, right? But some will say circumstances in the night, merry, laughing, and handsome, and mirror an invasion, a reflection of trust. The beauty of walking amongst us angels. Okay, so when you master all of that, which is the spiritual plane, it doesn't mean you are it. No, you know that you are a messenger, that you are a lovely angel, that you are at best this. When someone wants to talk to you about the low frequencies, those are people who are still not healed. And that's why they continue with their delusional stories, and then they continue also with that which is something that is a charge. But let me pause, because see, this is the part of where it's a bigger picture. So I have the individual, I get to do processing of everything that comes up. Then there's countries, they have soul ages too. They have things they learn, soul age groups. I have a number of sources that I look to. That's why it's pseudoscience, okay? But for the spiritual collective of mystics, there's an answer for why God is perfect, an Akashan source. I'm bringing you that. Science will tell you a lot of different things, will give you explanations, and I can tell you from a political science, international relations, and diplomacy, and sociology, social, culturally, all of that. Humanities is my background. I can completely bring you if I wanted to, which I don't. I chose not to go down that career path. So on both planes, I have what will be, you have choices. The entirety of humanity has choices. However, if I see that we have a bazillion of people, the masses, who are not standing up for something with their calm and centered equanimous stance, but they're standing with a charge, and then they're also divisive with a charge, and they're clashing, it's very clear. So in moments of change, which is societally speaking, we are having a big shift, but we've always been having shifts, so they're not bigger than before. It's just the way people are talking about it, and now that we're more connected, we can hear many different stories, many different voices, many different opinions. A person who is authentic will know the timbre of truth. Authentic means you're a human being who has enough brain to hear when they're bullshitting you, because you hear when you're bullshitting yourself. You don't go after your likes and dislikes. You're not going based on a preference that is of what you would want to see or not see. This is why truth is not about preferences. It's about objectively what works and what doesn't work, which is why scientists always will repeat replicable proof, but they're not the only right ones. So when someone says they've never seen a medium ever and they don't believe in mystics, that's an arrogant human being. But when they'll present to me that the earth is round repeatedly, I'm going to believe them. I still won't be upset at flat earthers. Keep on trying to test it. Okay, so experimental approach is what they have. But those of us who come with God source, so the mystic, let me go back, expert yogi, expert prophet, expert all, Akashic record reader, expert all of it, because of understanding the timbre of that, which is, that's what it is, it's silence, okay? And that's why Sadhguru knows what roundabout we're at. And when he shared this, it was in an interview where he's talking about how he and it wasn't neuroscience, how him and from the space science person, I forget what they're called, but that they know how many years the universe is or something like that, or the infinite universe. And he's like, yep. And so it will be his last lifetime. That's what he was saying. And it's like, why would that be his last lifetime? But let me leave that alone. The point that I'm trying to make is that anyone who's in the group of enlightened ones will know that things will be fine, meaning it will work out. Obviously, some will say no, it won't be fine. It will be fine unless dark matter, dark energy implodes or something hits us. We will continue to live. So yes, it will be fine. Is everything working out perfectly? No. Has anything ever worked out perfectly? So when you're able to maintain calm, that's the grown-up equanimous stance. Those who don't want it, that's why they think modern day therapists are trying to imprison you. And so being yourself, this is what it means as you grow up. Now, if you're an immature 16-year-old, you're an immature 16-year-old as you're moving through your adolescent years, and then you move to your grown-up years. If you don't learn how to master your embodied brain, you ain't learning shit. You're not doing much with your manifestation technique. However, again, back to that other part, when someone wants to say that those who have trauma don't manifest, no, they manifest. But what kind of a life are they living from within them? And so this is what is unfortunate business. When you do know that there's perfection, it doesn't mean everything always goes in bright, sunny. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray, right? I never knew that this song is about somebody who is singing the death of their wife or something, as my mother would sing that part to us, my twin and I, when we were kids. And then I found out what this whole song is. I was like, oh my God, thank goodness I didn't know the rest of the song. But here's where even as beings that are of spirit and source, knowing that death is part of the journey, those of us who enjoy living, we are like, yeah, we don't want to go anywhere anytime soon. We're good with it. We like cherishing our loved ones. I know I do. So, being yourself, everybody knows what motivates you and what keeps you alive. But when you're cherishing the loved ones, that's your powerful technique. So with your oversoul, you're never going to look at that which is your oversoul and think, oh, God sent me some shit. But that's because I'm an empowered feminine, remember? The empowered feminine has a whole body and a whole integrated brain, so I have no cracks. I love my life just the way it is all the time. And then I get little tweaks here and there that I get to complain about, right? So others, they don't have the same thing. And when you hear what they did with the whole twin flame and the oversoul, it's very much something that I'm not going to talk too much about, but I'm going to tell you it's not the same. There are things that are irritating and frustrating for sure. No one's testing shit. You can't test a feminine who's empowered like you won't test a masculine who's empowered, because it means it's a person, by the way, who has both feminine and masculine empowered. So they know what the fuck's going on. And they know how to speak authentically, genuinely, because they know what they deserve and they know what love is. So you know that deserving is everyone. Respect. And when you don't get it, you also recognize that that means they don't know how to give it. So if somebody doesn't know how to respect another human being, their faith, their everything, like the teenage boyfriend, that means that they're obtuse. It also means that they're closed-minded. It means that their effective realism, they think they're right, and that's with their emotions and their thoughts. They're arrogant. That means they're insecure. That means they're not being authentic or themselves. That means that they're being an adaptive child part, which is a 16-year-old version of themselves, and they're in a shame bind, and they're going to wheel themselves into that, which is a donkey. So at that point, here's why when I make fun of Buddha for sitting under a tree, it's not because of Buddha. It's that one, when I read, you left, you were rich, why didn't you do something? I thought of Jesus. That's why I put down the book of Siddhartha. I'm not interested. I'll read you later. Then it's more now just become a joke, because it's like, okay, you sat under a tree. They're not using your stuff the right way. Actually, after bad decentralizing in the self-experience, they're spreading rumors about you bringing demons out of them because they don't know Peter Levine and how muscles, bones, and tissues store trauma. So ignorance is still, though, part of that suffering bit. It's just that we're not ignorant anymore. So trending topics, what are they? Trauma. Trauma charge is attachment. Okay, great. Now that we know they're trending, here's the deal. You're either a body connected. Great, you know how to heal yourself when shit comes up and be calm and centered. Or you just like to blah, 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 blah. So when people want to say morality, integrity, the fair, not fair, but they're yelling and they're like, neutrality means you have no opinion. No, it means that I know what subjective reality means. And then I know also how to be eloquent. And then I also know how many different layers there are involved. And then I also know how to be common sense. And then I know a lot of other things that you might not really be interested in, because I could keep going. So who is actually smart here? Is it me being myself and knowing intellectually, emotionally how to handle a conversation, which I won't do. This is, you're seeing this right now. I don't do any of it. Because the people that we engage with, they're all going to be fun and curious, and they already know this shit. Which is why we're not laughing at suffering, like the Dalai Lama says to some guy who doesn't even learn who the Dalai Lama is. How dare you smile on the face of all this suffering? Wow, you went to the Dalai Lama and said that? What the fuck? I guess you just had a little rock in your shoe, like the I'm not decent enough to be saluted. This stranger. So when they look away, your confidence will be eroded. So people who don't get their confidence on track, they just need to. You know what? I bet you this is a cynic that went to him. The ones who think that enlightenment is a trap. As he points out, some of us have a responsibility, he says, to bring, what was it? Smiles? Let me grab my notes. But in case you're new, you haven't heard it. This was from lovely Dr. Daniel Siegel. He shares a lot of good information. So I don't know where and if it's like word for word, but I do know that it's pretty cool that the Dalai Lama is like, dude, come on. It's not because of the suffering. It's in here it is. That we have a kind of responsibility to bring joy into the world. So it's not in spite of the suffering, but actually because of it. And what I'm going to say is, yes, may your decisions be based upon what truly matters and works, not upon your likes and dislikes. Thank you, Sadhguru. And as he also points out, never think in terms of who is doing better or worse than you. The only question is whether you are doing your best. So people who ignore their suffering, and therefore they have ignored going to get themselves supported, and they've ignored, do not look for the finish line. With life, the journey itself is the destination. They've ignored that every day you wake up with yourself. They've ignored a lot. And so you will find it sad. I find it sad when I meet people who don't know how to be themselves. And then I find it sad when I see people who don't know that the truth is that they could be in a different space emotionally, mentally, and physically. But I am self-aware, accountable, regulating. I got attachment trauma educated because I support inner growth mindset, people to be happy in life. And so I moved into the realm of understanding all of that, which is your biology, like mine, and emotions are behind it. And so for me, it's not hard to sit in rest because I'm not afraid of darkness in my brain because it doesn't hold any monsters. Okay, so open-ended inquiry is great for me. Courage, curiosity, strength. Now, I'm going to say I'm pretty sure that it's because part of my implicit memory involves me having a twin in the womb, and therefore I don't have this mammalian heritage that we all have, which is we need one human being. Otherwise, we're going to physically feel afraid of death. Okay, so I think that that's my superpower, is what I'm going to let you know. So, in the meantime, one, the people who get good therapy and then they get to become emotionally mentally mature, they will feel just the same. I think we'll find out as they join our community. The collective of mystics who understand what their oversoul brings to them, they would not look to the past and think anything except for, wow, it's amazing. Because even as you're processing, so you master the mental, emotional, and physical plane. As an Akashic record reader, this is where I'm mastering now, that physical. And when I was moving from emotional to physical, I knew it. And that's when Twin Flame 3 showed up. Then they began this whole tragedy that they decided to do with, the Twin Flame, although I understood what it was. But at the end of the day, to not get lost in the people's let's pat each other in the back stories, you don't actually have questions about what's happening because you'll know the themes. If you've learned your 12-month cycle, which is what it means to be yourself and to then be spiritually and mystically growing, you don't wait. At the second year of my ascension, I recognized, okay, I'm going to need to leave this stuff alone so I can move beyond it. Otherwise, I'm going to keep on thinking that I and the stars am related while I'm seeing something different. And people who disregarded that they are giving up parts of themselves. As therapists will point out, one of the biggest regrets of people are the choices that they didn't make or are the things that they didn't try. And so it goes back to childhood, which is why it's not actually something that you will think of in ways of, wow, how amazing. Once you break free from the 4D bandwidth, and that happened a while back, and it's not something that was confusing. It was something that was hilarious and upsetting at the same time, but it also makes sense because, again, God doesn't interfere in what your choices are. You choose what you want. So you have the free will to be aware of your mental, emotional, and physical health, and life's too short to spend it with people who don't actually care to learn how to live a healthy life with themselves, because they really aren't interested in that which is mental, emotional, physical, authentic, again, being yourself relationships. So today we have a lot of those different topics going on, but we still have two groups of people. The ones who are taking it seriously, and in fact we're doing it, and it's not a competition, it's not a race, nobody's pressuring anybody to get into more of their maturity. But yeah, you can get healthy anger, you can get healthy sadness and healthy fear. You can become a functional child adult who has a good time, like Terriel. He talks about functional adult, but the point is people are now aware of when we're dealing with emotionally immature people, they're not physically choosing this. Their biological rudeness is because of their dark sides of neuroplasticity. So when I see a pathology, I'm not going to engage with them. I'm going to know how to handle them with gloves so that I can leave as soon as possible and get to a grown-up conversation. Now, for the 3D, 4D that I care about, who think like that guy who goes up to the Dalai Lama, how dare you smile on the suffering? You're faking it. You're faking. Sure, I'm faking it. Yep, I'm faking it. All right. Yep, still faking it. Yeah, leave me alone. And that's it. It's because they don't actually notice that the ones who are suffering it have ways they can get out of it. So if you choose to commit to a story and then to a frequency and to hang out with the ones who, there's your 3D, 4D. And it's not fun. Last thing is, though, the free will part. And, our lovely planet is in Dharma, not karma. And every country is working through that, too. So you never really are breaking a balance. That's why God's perfect, cosmic, karmic balancey, Akash source, you can't physically break it. When people think that they're needed to save the planet, that's called savior complex. That's why they're spiritual bypassers. When people walk around thinking that they are incarnating any of special, that we have obviously the angels, archangels, all of them are always with us. And then obviously when there's other important things that we might want to share with our communities, but these important things serve the purpose of human evolution, consciousness, and our lovely planet continues to move forward. We still haven't met, like, with a shake hand, real aliens, you know what I mean? And I don't even know if we'll be able to call them that. They might decide that we have to change the way we call them. I'm not good with keeping up with all that stuff, so you'll have to forgive me if I made a mistake. But I think we're still okay with using aliens. But the ascension energies, yeah, there's many ways. I will, once we have our tiers open with mystics, share more of that, because I have a lot of aspects that I've completely arrived at understanding. Others are instead still going to be fascinating, because 4D, they're completely interesting. Thanks to them, there's many stories that stay alive. However, they interpret things that I have seen in ways that are also very fascinating. No, I'm not going to be able to give away anything else, because this is when I learned how to sit with it first. Empowered feminines like to sometimes share a bunch of things, but sometimes you need to just sit with it. And your oversoul always leads you to more of this flow state, and that's because they're your partners. And that means, like, those soul contracts that we've talked about or that you've heard about, those are true. And as for karmics, that's not something that you actually will think of in any way, shape, or form that way, because again, you're not dehumanizing your oversoul. These are people that you will have chosen to be in relationships with, and you don't cast a stone. No casting stones. We're all sinners. We all make mistakes. You see what I'm saying? So you don't actually decide to call on Christ consciousness or God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, or for the ones who want to talk about spirituality, without learning first how to be true spirituality, which means you live a life of meaning and connection beyond the soul self. The spiritual bypassers are all the ones who don't know how to forgive, because they are actively not able to unconsciously love people with their flaws and imperfections. They will have a good group and a bad group, and they will have decided to cast a stone based on what's fair and unfair. And what I see as unfair is that we still have children that are being broken, and that those are being broken by the ones who were broken in the first place, who didn't go get their self-righteous contempt fixed, because they decided that they knew what was right and wrong and moral and integrity and all of that based on their own illusion that they are the better ones and stuff like that. So what I see is hypocrisy, and that's one of the things that I don't like at all. When I see masculines, I don't like them. It's not men. It's any ignorant human being who doesn't understand how the world works. So when I have a full-blown picture, then I also know, though, God's got everything taken care of, and he actively will keep those of us who need to be kept away, because that's the part of where he knows that which is the perfection. Again, suffering is not something that has to happen, but it is something that does happen. When it happens and you know that it's happening, and you know that your hands are tied behind your back, that's called what a mystic spiritual knows. You're not to intervene. It's a very clear. That's why there's not a good or bad side. It's not about me justifying someone who's doing things in a low frequency with their past lives or not. I don't need to justify anything. As a spiritual one, I can understand that there's cosmic karmic balancing at play, which none of us can save. And at the same time, we all will want to calmly interact and do something about, in a way of bringing forth wisdom. Wisdom brings forth clarity, and it also brings forth, where's my paper again? Hold on. Because those are very important words. So what a leader does is not actually create more divide. You want to allow yourself to bring that which is clarity and calm, because otherwise, what are you going to see? You're going to see people fighting against each other. So, and obviously the paper is not here, but of course, here it is. You diffuse conflict and provide clarity. So the part about science and spirituality coming together, smart people know that, and those who don't want to, they're just choosing what they like and don't like based on what their preferences are. That makes them mediocre and ignorant. And anybody who's falling for pseudo-intellectuals is just as mediocre and ignorant than they are, and there you go. And so stereotypes and generalizations, they are not meant to be used the way gossipers use it, but they are, and they're making millions off of it to pat each other in the back and tell each other they're right and wrong, and that's not what truth tellers do. We say, look, there's right and wrong. Right is in favor of life. Wrong is against it, especially if you want to talk to me about God. But we have free will. So here's the part of where it begins to get, so again, subjective opinions. For objective, it's one globe. We got air, we need sun. Like the objective is why when someone wants to tell me about the divisiveness based on countries, I'm like, okay, yeah, the objective thing is still a globe. So the objective thing is we have governments, entities. We have, this is the objective thing is we want all of it to work together. The objective thing is that it's in everybody's best interest. So the objective thing is if you think that there has to be struggle, well, that's not objective. That's your subjective opinion. The objective thing is that there doesn't have to be struggle. And if you're using the past to tell me that struggle has to, you're using a past, you're not using the present, and you're also limiting that which is our possibility based on yesterday's news. So come again, it's still not objective. You just gave me subjective. Oh, you want to tell me patterns repeat themselves? Well, so you're basically not capable of wielding your brain in ways that can go beyond that which is a pattern of today. Or are you telling me that all of us are stupid? I don't consider any of my brothers or sisters stupid. So if you think we're stupid and blind, well, that's on you, not on me. I don't consider anybody incapable of hearing from their ears to their, you see? So when you have authenticity, transparency, and being yourself, you're saying humans are stupid so they don't learn. I don't think so. I believe in humanity because I believe in myself. I actually believe if I can tell it to you and explain it to you, that sooner or later, in one way, shape, or form, you will be able to figure it out. That's how much I have faith that you're not a donkey just yet. Okay, so whenever insulting humanity, it doesn't work with we're all children of God. There's no way you're going to let me think of anyone as broken to the point of where Humpty Dumpty got fixed. So the part about when people don't like what they don't like, they will continue to present those. When people are saying, look, things can work because we can make it work, we stay away from all the negative people. Like Albert Einstein pointed out, successful entrepreneurs, successful people, authentic people, stay away from negative people because all they have is the same lame ass excuse, which is why it gets boring to an intellectually curious mind and an emotionally mature one. And it's like, okay, you're getting pissy in your pants now. No, it's not utopistic to think of people being able to be capable of doing something with their thoughts, because what you're making it sound like is like it's impossible, while I know it's not, because it has been done before. And because what does it even mean, the before thing? We're in the present. Stay in the present. Now. Be blank slate, please. We use the past. We bring this. What I love about strategy. So when I met with a group of this was astral travel, as we strategized how we were going to distribute, it was amazing. So Mystic Life is really fun. Our Oversoul, it's really fun. In the meantime, we will be back with more, and we'll be talking about the flow state tomorrow, just a little bit more with some more mystic stories. Our Oversoul, they give us the biggest gift of all. They allow us to be ourselves authentically, and we don't have to pat anybody on the back because they want to be authentic too. So the ones who don't want to live a life of meaning and connection beyond the solo self, they don't join us, but they will continue to be around, and so we will all mix and mingle and tingle and continue to have a good time. And as for the world, it will balance itself out, because that's what we always have done. Human species, we evolve, we expand, we are going through a moment of change. We will be, once again, going through that which is actually right now we're settling into the new, so we're finding our sweet spot. And I was told that the 4D3D would not be joining us, and now I'm pretty clear on who they are, between pseudo-liveness and fantasy stages and all of their beautiful whatever it is that I'll be making fun of it. It's amazing. I mean, it's really, I'm grounded in reality. You can call me woo-woo pseudoscience all day long, all night long, all night. So we will be back with more. Have a good one.